Okay, hello students. Today we are going to talk about kinds of phrases. Okay, we are going to have a review about kinds of phrases because I'm sure information about phrases is not something new for you. Okay, so a phrase itself consists of head and a modifier or dependent. And the classification of a phrase is determined by the part of speech of the head. Okay, so you have to remember the material about part of speech. And then once you know the part of speech of the head, you are able to categorize or to classify the phrase. A phrase can be categorized into noun phrase, a phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase, and prepositional phrase. Noun phrase, of course, the head is a noun. So for example, all his attempt, the head his attempt. Okay, so all and his are the modifier. Cars from Japan. Which car? Car from Japan. So the modifier is a phrase from Japan. Okay, that modifies the head. The head here is car. And since car and attempt are nouns, so it is called noun phrase. A phrase, okay, consists of auxiliaries as the modifier and main verb. Okay, the main verb, okay, the main verb will determine okay, here you have auxiliaries and the main verb. Okay, since the part of speech of the head is a verb because it is main verb, then it is the phrase. Okay, and adjective phrase, okay, the head is adjective, of course. Okay, and the modifier can be a verb. So quite expensive. How expensive? Quite expensive. Very reliable. The head is reliable. Reliable is adjective, then it is called adjective phrase. How reliable? Very reliable. Adverb phrase, okay, here the head must be adverb, rudely or fast. Okay, for example, very rudely. How rudely? Very rudely. The head is the adverb. Fast enough. How fast? Fast enough. Okay, the head is fast. Fast is adverb, so it is called adverb phrase. The place of the modifier can be before the adverb or after the adverb. Okay, very rudely, it is placed before the adverb. Fast enough. Enough is placed after the head. Okay. Another phrase, okay, the other phrase is prepositional phrase or preposition phrase, we call it. Okay, for example, to the bring or after your party. To the bring, okay, preposition to and after, and then it is followed by noun phrase, the bring or your party. Okay, to the bring after your party. Okay, so prepositional phrase consists of preposition and the noun phrase that follow the preposition. Okay, the relationship of the phrase itself, mostly it is head-dependent structure. For example, like this one, cars from Japan. Which car? From Japan. Okay, so from Japan, modified cars. And then, for example, very rudely. How rudely? Very rudely. So very modified rudely. Okay, very reliable. Very modified reliable. So the relationship is head dependent. Okay, or modifier. Now modifier had. Okay, modifier had. Modifier had. Modifier had. Modifier had. Also like this one. Modifier had. However, it doesn't happen in prepositional phrase because the brain doesn't modify to. Your body doesn't modify after. This relationship is called relator axis. Okay. So the verb phrases and the genitive phrases. Genitive phrases is the one that use apostrophe. Okay, possession. Okay, like this one. So, for example, here, I sent it to my brother. To here, the is not modified by the word my brother. Okay, so to will relate my brother. Okay, will relate my brother, the noun phrase. So that's why we call it relator, and then the noun phrase is access. Same case in genitive phrase. Okay. The noun is relator, okay, relator, and then the axis is the genitive phrase. Okay, let's talk about the phrases one by one. Noun phrase in English can be preceded by some elements. Mostly it is categorized under the category of determiners. Determiner itself consists of articles, which can be definite or indefinite, like the, possessive, okay, possessive forms in form of adjective, okay, possessive adjective like my, your, his, her, and genitive, okay, genitive. So name with apostrophe s. Or demonstrative like this, that, and then numbers. It can be ordinal number or cardinal number, and indefinite quantity like some, any, many, more, etc. A noun phrase, okay, before the noun, in a noun phrase, before the noun, we can use determiner. But after the noun, we have complement option, okay? Since this is options, you may have one of this form, but if you do not want to use complement, that is okay. So the first one is without complement. The car, for example, determiner, noun, and then may end the phrase. But if you want to give more information, that is also okay. You can have the options with prepositional phrase like of, the memory of a friend. You can end the phrase into the memory. But if you want to add more information as the complement, you can use prepositional phrase of a friend. The presentation of the award to the winner. Okay. If you want the noun phrase without complement, you can end it here, the presentation. But if you want to give more information, you can give complement with preposition of or to. Presentation of the award to the winner. Okay, another prepositional phrase that you can use is by started with the word with or about. An argument with Sonia, or an argument about Sonia, or an argument with Sonia about the award. Then the noun as the hat can be a proper noun or common noun. The proper noun is written with capital letter. Usually it is related to name. Okay, thus usually you cannot use inflectional morpheme with this kind of noun. So for example, like Tarzan, you cannot make it into plural Tarzans, okay, because it is a name. Another one that you can use in the position of the hat is common noun. Common noun is any noun, and you don't have to use capital letter to start with, and then it can be inflected. So for example, if you want to make it into plural form, okay, car, you can add s, so it becomes cars. Okay, so the slot of a noun phrase can be filled with determiner with common noun, for example, the cat, noun proper, for example, John. For the noun phrase, in short, we can make it into determiner. This is optional. You may have it, or but if you don't want, if you do not want to use determiner, there is also okay. You can just start with the noun. Okay, so it becomes like this. Another combination is by using adjective. Okay, using adjective, you can place the adjective before the noun, between the determiner and the noun. Okay, so it becomes like this. If it is adjective and noun, it becomes like tall buildings. Determiner, adjective, and noun, it becomes a good girl. Okay, or you may have more than one adjectives. Determiner, adjective, adjective, noun, a good young girl. Okay, to the second phrase, for phrase. For phrase is in the position of a predicate, in the position of the predicate. Usually it is started with a verb. Okay, you may add with complement, but if you want to end the verb phrase, or if you want to end the sentence up until the verb, you can have it. So for example, like this one. Okay, if you use intransitive verb, you do not need to use object, and you can stop the sentence after the verb. Okay, the child vanished, so it is without complement. But if you want to add, let's say, object, okay, object, direct object, okay, for example, you may add complement in form of noun phrase. The professor proved the theorem. Okay, but if you want to use like this one, two noun phrases, as you have two objects, the direct and indirect object. We handed the man a map. The man here is the indirect object. A map here is the direct object. If you use linking verb like become or be here, you may have adjective phrase as the complement. The man became. Became is a linking verb. Then you have to. It has to be followed by adjective phrase or noun phrase. Okay. If here in this case it is adjective phrase. Okay. The man became very angry. Okay. If you want to use other information, like for example location, what is it? Place, etc. You can use prepositional phrase like this one. The dog dashed to the door, location. Or for example, she gave a certificate. Okay, certificate is a noun phrase. Okay, so here we have direct object, and then more information to the students. Okay, here the other information is in form of prepositional phrase. So you can have combination of noun phrase and prepositional phrase. Or you can also have combination of prepositional phrase with another prepositional phrase is the complement of the verb. I talked to a doctor, because the verb talk should be followed by to. Talk to a doctor, and then about Sue. Or you can have noun phrase, preposition, preposition phrase. Okay, we opened. Open must be something. The door, and then you add more information for Andy with a crowbar. Okay, so these are the complement option for the phrase. The verb itself, okay, as the head of the verb phrase can be in form of transitive or intransitive. Okay, so once again, we may say that predicate for the verb phrase, okay, for phrase filled the predicate position, okay, with the complements or without complements. It depends on the verb. If you use a transitive verb, okay, of course you need for the noun phrase. The monkey plays the cello. Okay, plays the cello here. So verb and noun phrase. Okay, But if you use intransitive verb, the monkey lost, for example, so here you do not need any complement because the verb is intransitive. In short, we can make it into a phrase as the predicate can be filled with verb and noun phrase as the option. Okay. However, not all verbs shows action. Sometimes you have linking verb which express being. Okay, like this one. This soup smelled delicious. So here, linking verb can be followed by noun phrase or adjective. Okay, smelled delicious. In this case, it is followed by adjective. Okay. Okay, next is adjective phrase. Adjective phrase, of course, the head must be adjective. So adjective itself can function as attributive or predicative. Here, that we say as adjective phrase usually in the place of attributive. A large dog attacked me. Okay, a large dog. So the word large modify dog. So that's why we call it attributive. But if it is predicative, the word large is in the position of the predicate. The dog was large. So large is was the predicate was large. So we call it predicative. Most of or majority of the adjectives are gradable or non-gradable. The gradable one usually it denotes a property that can be presented in varying degrees. Okay, like for example, beautiful. We can make it extremely beautiful, quite beautiful, okay, rather beautiful, big, deep is also the same. It can be extremely big, rather deep. The other is non-gradable adjectives like Australian, musical, metallic, which denotes absolute rather than relative properties. You cannot make it into quite Australian or extremely Australian now. Okay, that's why it is called non-gradable adjectives. The adjective itself, in the position of adjective phrase, is always modified by adverb. So, for example, like very naughty. How naughty? Very naughty. Naughty as the adjective is modified by adverb very. The had or the adjective can be followed by, okay, so the complement can be prepositional phrase, can be a clause. In this case, we give mark of an S, okay, because this is a clause. I am afraid. Afraid is followed by prepositional phrase of the door. Okay, preposition. Or you can follow, you can use a clause to after the word afraid. I'm afraid that she will not come. Okay, that she will not come. Okay, is the complement of adjective afraid. Next is adverbial phrase. Adverb in adverbial phrase will function as the head, and the adverbial phrase itself can function as adjunct, modifier, or peripheral dependent. When adverb phrase serves as adjunct, okay, so it becomes the sentence. For example, like he was driving carelessly. Carelessly modifies the word was driving. Okay, the phrase was driving. If the adverb phrase functions as a modifier, so it becomes sufficiently precise, okay, or extremely careful. Okay, so the adverb modify another adverb. If it functions as a peripheral dependent, okay, so it will modify the entire clause. Amazingly, no one was hurt. The word or the adverb amazingly modified, no one was hurt. Adverbs can give the meaning of manner, like carefully or well, It can also give information about time, right now, today, information about place, like there, locally, or even direction, like away or home. And the complement for adverbial phrase usually in form of prepositional phrase and modifier. So for example, like this one, very calmly for someone in mortal danger. Okay, so very calmly is adverbial phrase. Okay, with uh, the head is the word calmly, and then it is followed by complement for someone in mortal danger. The last one is prepositional phrase. In prepositional phrase, the preposition is placed before noun phrase. Okay, thus, the PS rules can be written as prepositional phrase is preposition plus noun phrase. So, for example, like Beth jumped from the trapeze. From is preposition and the trapeze is noun phrase. However, not all prepositional phrase occurs within a verb phrase. So, for example, like the cover of the book. So here, the prepositional phrase doesn't modify the verb, but it modifies noun, the cover. So it becomes determiner, and then cover, the noun, overhead, and then prepositional phrase as the modifier of the word cover. The prepositional, the prepositions in prepositional phrase functions as relator. Okay, and then the axis is filled with noun phrase. Okay, so it can be also adjective phrase or another prepositional phrase. Okay, so for example, like on the table, right on the spot. So here the modifier is a prepositional phrase. Okay, here you have modify as right. Okay, is a modifier for the phrase on the spot. Prepositional phrase. So prepositional phrases serve as a wide range of functions within the structure of a clause, such as adjunct, complement, very dependent, subject of a verb, modifier, axis, etc. Okay, so that is the end of information about kinds of phrases.